I remember I was standing at the balcony. I was like just looking out of the balcony, not really looking at anything in particular. Actually, I was like just spaced out, just zone out. And I was very, very tired. I remember I was so tired. I was just mentally, physically, emotionally very tired. And at that moment, actually, what went through my mind was I was thinking of how I can end my life again. What was fun? 0 point, playing the game 0 point. And I remember sitting on the swing, those traditional, those swing, because my grandmother is the one who is taking care of me. So my parents are both working, so I'm always tagging along with my grandmother from house to house, because she does washing for those private home owners, the landed properties. So they will always have this swing, and I love to, sit on the swing. And 0.5 stones, we play 5 stones. That was younger days. And then what it was fun for secondary school would be, all I can remember is basketball, because I was in a basketball team. So most of my time was spent in the basketball court. Yeah, I was called out by the teacher to lead the whole class, the whole school, in the national pledge. And just after we, the citizen of Singapore, I was frozen. I went blank. And the whole school was staring at me, and I just feel like my breathing, my heart was like beating so fast. I can feel my whole hands, my knees, and all turning jelly. I wanted to find a hole and just jump in. And I was very angry with myself. Like, why am I such a failure? Why can't I just do something so simple? Why I cannot do something simple? And then come to adolescence, because in poly, I'm angry with myself again for, trusting people easily, and then going into a relationship that I knew in my instinct that this is not going to work out, but I still went ahead with it. So the other party, betray me and all that, but I don't blame them because it's my choice. So I feel very angry with myself. Like, why am I making decisions after decisions after decisions that I know that it's going to sabotage myself, that I know that it's not the right decision? Somehow inside me I know, but yet I still go ahead and make that decision. And then I suffer the consequences of it. So I was basically very angry with myself for making those decisions. Because it was not my fault that when I was 5 or 6 years old, I was actually being molested. From then on, I begin to shut up. Yeah, I begin to shut up. I don't know how to voice out. And I feel that if I voice out, if I speak up, the adults will quarrel, will fight. And I begin to feel that I need to protect myself. Nobody can protect me except myself. I had a very difficult pregnancy. So looking out into the window, I wasn't looking at anything. I was actually in a daze. And I was trying to think how I can, end my life again. The dryer was in the background, roaring, because my son has eczema since a month old. At that time, I'm so paranoid about cleanliness, to the extreme of OCD. As a mom, I feel very guilty. There's this guilt of why like that? And I can't help him, seeing him crying and all that, I can't help him. I will make sure that everything is clean. His clothing have to be washed in hot water, 40 degrees Celsius and above. And the smell of Dettol is still, I can literally just still smell, the scent of Dettol, because the floor has to be squeaky clean. Yeah, I mop them with hot water and kept full of Dettol. But at this time when I'm staring out of the balcony, it was not just my son, my daughter. I just gave birth to my daughter. Probably she was like probably 3 months old, and I was very, very tired. So I just walked out of that, go back to the bedroom where the kids were sleeping. And before, the whole intention was just to go back and take a last look at them before, I continue to plot how I should live. And the thing is, when I went into the room, they were sleeping, and you know how babies, when they sleep, their stomach, they breathe very deeply. So the stomach just go up and down. And I was just like looking at them breathing. And somehow it became so therapeutic that I forgot about, ending my own life.
So let's make a warm welcome and applause to Lilian.
This meeting is very participating. I'm a very kinesthetic learner, so I do and I learn. I don't sit down and I will zone out. Turn to someone next to you and say, you are a woman of courage. Can I have 100% participation? Yes. Awesome. One more time, take a deep breath in. And slowly, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, sit down.
So I went to their playroom, which is just across the room, and I just slumped myself. I just dropped myself on the mat, and I remember lying down there and just feeling very tired, and then I realized that I started to weep. Started weeping. And then I realized that I started to cry. And then I realized that I started to wail. I wasn't crying anymore, I was wailing. And I was just hugging myself and just curling myself up on the floor, and I was just wailing and crying and crying and crying. I was crying because I was like, I feel this rush of emotions, coming out from within. And it's like wave upon wave of emotions. I couldn't handle the emotion. I can't even have words to describe the emotion. But if I had to describe one emotion, I think that would be anger. I was so filled with anger at that moment. I was angry with myself, actually. And at that point in time, I was just basically wailing out all this anger. Before I finally I just tell God, I surrender. I don't know how to help myself anymore. Please help me. And that was when I felt a release. Yeah, I felt a release and basically surrender, and then ask for help. The neighbor approached me, seeing me, so predictable. She approached me and then invited me to her home. It was very tough for me to actually go, because I'm so used to isolating myself. I'm so withdrawn, so used to just keep to myself. But it was after that crying in the playroom that somehow I knew that, it's time for me to help myself. And since I asked for help, and this looks like help, and that was the beginning of the recovery of my journey of depression. Yeah.
That's why 我们 to differentiate them, 我们叫她
So she's the one
experience the love of God and through us. So Father, I pray and lift up this whole event to the end.
what he does, and let your love only in this place, Lord, in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
It's really step by step, spoon feed. Okay, so I will leave this on for a few minutes before we move to the next step and the next step. So we do it as a practice. You don't have to go. These questions.
I think the first one was the first breakthrough and first accomplishment that I did was starting a business from ground zero. I mean, I was just walk out of depression, and the opportunity to start a business came along. I was asked to either go back to the workforce or start a business. So building that business was a breakthrough. It was a 9 years journey. And then I started the business from ground zero, build it up, and then sold it to an interior designer. Yeah. And then subsequently, I worked on my health. I put my health back in order. I ran like 2 half marathons at the age of 44, that was a huge milestone for me. And then I went on to publish a book. I wrote a book. So that was another milestone. And I started volunteering in communities, projects, and being able to walk down the runway, in a fashion show for social cause. That itself was a breakthrough for my confidence and fear of stage fright, because I basically spaced out during that when I was younger, leading the national pledge. So that was the seed, that was the beginning of my fear of public speaking and being on stage. And then started the Women of Courage Asia community, which I am now, putting all my time and effort, a lot of my time and effort in building this community, because back then I didn't have a community to support me. So, but with that friend that supported me, and then slowly, organically, a community grew out of it. So I realized the importance of community support. Yeah, for those who are going through depression or anxieties, I think the first step for me, reflecting on my own journey, I think the first step was to acknowledge that I needed support. Yeah, to acknowledge where I was, that the condition that I was in. Because back then I didn't know much about depression. I was not clinically diagnosed, but it was on the hindsight that I realized that, I actually was in depression. And so the first step is to acknowledge the condition you are in, or to at least acknowledge your emotions, how you are feeling and all that, and then to reach out for support. So reaching out for support is not weakness. It actually takes a lot of courage to reach out for support. These communities, our objective is to provide a safety net for women who need to jumpstart their journey of recovery from depression. Yeah.
What's one thing that you learned about yourself? I learned about myself. I can be quite critical and quite anal. Then I must keep the time on time. Yes. Very focused.
Really I think it's even though it's my first time after a long time, it's how you embrace me, and then you accept me for who I am. Being around. No, never. So, but what I like is you accept me for who I am, and you included me, and I just prompt myself, take temperature.
I always tell the community that, courage is taking action in the face of fear. Yeah, and the quote or the tagline that I always like to use is, when you awaken the courage of a woman, you ignite her power of influence. So the power of influence is first influencing yourself, yeah, and then leading yourself. And then you will realize that you will slowly be influencing the women around you. Your sphere of influence, whether you like it or not, you have it. It can be as small as just your family members, or your communities, or the nation, or even the world. So when you awaken the courage of a woman, you ignite her power of influence.